Here we go. You'll just have to consent to that. Okay, perfect. And we'll get ourselves warmed up and do a little bit of hip stuff. All right, so feet parallel. Oh, I have to unfold my mat. There we go. Okay, so feet right underneath our hips. And we'll just settle in. Getting ready, you can rock forward and back on your feet a little bit and just make sure your toes are spreading out, rolling from the heels to the toes and getting your feet wide into the floor. Good. And then land right in the center and go ahead and sweep your arms up. A nice big breath in, getting taller. Good. And then let your arms float down. Good. And you're going to use your arms reaching up to help you lengthen the sides and back of your body. And thinking about that's it. Really nice. Thinking about the chest relaxing as the back of the body lengthens. Let's do one more time. Your arms are going to go up. Keep your palms apart, shoulders away from the ears, and just take a side bend over to the right. Good. And then coming up through the center and a side bend over to the left. Good. And coming up through the center. One more time each side. Just feel how your spine wants to side bend this morning. And over to the left. And coming up. And then bring your fingertips to your shoulders and we'll do a little elbow circle. Oh, I've got cat hair on my nose, I think. It's itchy. Little elbow circle here. Good. And then we'll go, when you're ready, the opposite direction, just circling the elbows, fingertips touching the shoulders. Doesn't have to be really big. We're just waking up some joints. Good. And then relax your arms and give them a nice toss. Front to back. Yeah, exactly. That's all. It's like you're kind of flicking water off of your fingertips. So just nice, easy, flicking the water back off your fingertips. Good. And then let's start to pick up our feet and go for a little walk. So we'll go for a march and let your hands and arms drop into opposition. Nice, easy opposition. Yeah, perfect. Long neck. Good. And then let's take our arms up to the ceiling and just reach up and down. Good. See if you can spring off of your toes. That's it. And then arms out to the sides. Let's go out to the sides. Good. And then out to the front. Yes, exactly. Good. And then we'll just do one of each. So we'll go up to the ceiling, out to the sides, into the front. Ceiling, sides, and front. Good. We're just going to do a few of these because it's already nice and sticky hot today. So we don't need to do a ton of this cardio sort of stuff. That's Elaine, you can just let your arms keep swinging at your sides. Good. All right, one more set, up, sides, and front, and then let your arms come into opposition. And if we're gonna work on the hips, let's turn our legs out and lift your knees out to the side a little bit. So do a little bit of external rotation. You don't have to lift your knees really high for now. We'll just get that external rotation. And then bring your legs to parallel and turn them in. Now bring the knee across. Yeah, and you'll feel your hips twist a little bit, but you really want that thigh bone to go into internal rotation. Exactly, really nice. And then back to center. And then bring your feet down, good. And let's heel to walk our feet out. And turn your toes and your knees in. And a nice little swish side to side with your tailbone. Swing your tail to the left and to the right. Yeah, that's it. You know it. And then after this, we're going to go for a circle. So circle your hips around. Oh, give your low back a little wake up, a little massage. Let the back of your pelvis really open up behind you as well. So think sit bones wide as you go behind. And then let's circle the other way. So circling the opposite direction. Good, shoulders relaxed away from the ears. Good. And then, of course, we go into infinity symbols. So just a nice, easy figure of 8. That's it. Really great. Yeah. This is just such a nice way to get your hips more kind of the SI joint, but also the hip sockets themselves warming up. And then we'll pause and go the opposite direction, letting that figure 8 flow in the opposite direction. Yes, there we go. And notice if one side is easier to make that sort of loop around, try and make the loop the same on both sides. There, yes, that's great. Okay, let's come into the center. Bring your hands to your low back and your belly just for some feedback. And we'll go into posterior tilt, anterior tilt. So nice tip of the pelvis going back and forth. Spine stretches up towards the ceiling. The crown of the head is reaching and the neck is long. Good. We're going to do 3 more posterior, anterior. 2 more. Let your low back stretch out. And 1 more. Good. And then let's keep the posterior tilt. Crown of the head pushes up. Sweep your arms out to the sides. Good. Externally rotate your arms and extend your wrists. Now let the front of your pelvis feel nice and open. Don't squeeze your bum. Keep the front of the hips open. And let's go for a translation. Translate right and translate left. Yeah, nice and easy, right and left. Good. Don't worry, Elaine. All that running around has been warming you up. So it's all good. Easy translations. Good. Lead with let's go with the middle of the ribs. So kind of just below the armpit level. Lead with those ribs side to side. Oh, good. Try to go a little further for the last 4 and 3. Nice work. Last 2 and 1. Good. Come into the center. Take your left arm up, right arm down. Let's exhale and side bend away from our arms. So push your hand up to the ceiling, push your right hand down, and then come back up. And we'll do that again. Exhale, push the hand down and up. Good. And all the way up with the spine. 1 more time. Feel how you're opening the left side of the body. And now we're going to take your left arm with you. So side bend and bring the arm and feel how that deepens the stretch. And then come out of it. And 1 more time, side bend. And let's do a little pulse here, just for about 8 little pulses. 7, 6, 5, 4, 3. Let the left hip feel open on the side. And then come all the way up. And finally, switch your arms. Right arm up, left arm down. Take a breath in. Exhale, peel away from your arms so the arm stays at the ceiling for these first ones. And then we come all the way up. Good. Exhale, find a side bend where you're opening the right rib cage. Good. And then all the way up. 1 more time. Press the left hand down and the right hand presses gently up. And coming up. Good. And now take your arm with you. Side bending and deepen that stretch on that side. Good. Reach. And then come up. Beautiful. 1 more time. We go over with the arm. Feeling that whole side line open and a little pulse. 8, 7, 6, 5, 4. You got it. 3, 2, 1. Come up. Woo. Relax that arm down. Straighten your knees. Relax your pelvis. Good. Let's heel toe walk the feet in. Good. Okay, a little bit of work for those hips. So you're going to put your hands on your hips. Soften your knees a tiny bit, so let your knees be relaxed and bring your pelvis into posterior tilt. Push the crown of your head up, reach your tailbone down, and just start to hover your right foot off the floor. Bring your leg up to about 90, knee in front of hip. Flex the right foot, and you're going to do a little pulse up, 2, 3, 4. That's it. Keep your posterior tilt. 7, 8. Now take your leg out to the side and a little pulse up. Keep your right sit bone pointing down. Keep your tail pointing down. Head up for 3, 2, 1, bring it across the body, and a little pulse here, just 8 of them. Tail and sit bone pushing down, crown of the head up. Good, come back to the center and try a tick-tock, cross and open with the foot, cross and open. Keep your pelvis in its posterior tilt. Check that your low back is nice and flat. Good, 1 more each way and open, and then slowly bring that leg down. Good, and we'll switch it up. So knees a little bit soft, posterior tilt. Bring your left leg up so it's in front of its own hip, and 8 little pulses. 8, 7, 6, 5, that's it, 4, 3, 2, your arms can be wherever you want them to be, open to the side, and then a little 8. Yeah, you can drop your arms, put them out to a T, whatever you like. Keep your left sit bone down, 2, 1. Bring it across the midline, 8 little pulses here. Good, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Bring it into the center, slow tick-tock, foot across and out. Try to keep the low back long, crown of the head pushing up. Good. 1 more each way and out, and slowly putting the foot down. Good, now take your arms out to a T. You're gonna put most of your weight on your left leg, float your right leg up and allow your leg to cross in front, open out to the side and cross behind, and open out to the side, cross in front, open out to the side, cross behind. Good, your leg is gonna turn in the front and turn out to go back. Good, turn in the front and out to go back. Good, 1 more time each way. Turn it in, cross it in front, turn it out, pull it behind, and come into the center. Switch over to that right leg. Pick up the left leg, cross it in front, swing it out to the side, cross it behind, and cross it in front. Good, and behind. You can help your balance by focusing on something that won't move across the room. Start to feel that internal rotation when you cross in front, external rotation as you cross behind. Good, 2 more times. Good, keep breathing. Last, no, nice, good. Wobbling is good, right? Proprioceptive work is good. Come to the center, relax your arms down. Okay. And finally, we'll do our standing ELDOA before we drop onto our mats and stretch out. So feet are nice and parallel. Let's dial up the legs. So we'll do big toes up, arches down, shin bones turned out, thigh bones turned in. Find your posterior tilt. Let your pelvis just tip back. Low back lengthens. Push the crown of the head up to the ceiling. Let's take a quick moment here. Put one hand at the base of your skull and the other hand on your chest. And try to slowly pull those 2 hands apart. Back of the skull lifts up and back. Sternum drops down and forward. Eyes looking down. Chin in just a little bit, but don't let your head fall forward. Yeah, that looks good. Let's take the arms out in front. External rotation, extended wrists, and start to float your arms up. Shoulder blades wide, wide across the back, wide across the armpits. Keep space between your shoulders and your ears. See if you can lengthen out of your neck spine. See if you can stretch and line up your thoracic spine. See if you can pull your tail down and flatten out your lumbar spine. And now start to slide your shoulder blades up the sides of your ribs to lengthen your side body. Feel length all the way up the back of the body and soften down the front of the body. So the sides of the body are getting longer. We're almost there. The back of the body is stretching. The front of the body is softening. Hold for 3, 2, and 1. Let your arms float down. Let your feet and your legs relax. Relax your pelvis. Take a nice breath in and out. Good. And let's drop right down onto the mat and get into our glute stretch. So bring me down with you. And let's just get into those big muscle groups right away. We'll do glutes and psoas. And then we'll work around the hips. We'll see if we can get some movement or some stretching and mobility all the way around. So lying on your back, and you're gonna find your flat spine. When you go to nod your chin, don't feel like you have to squish your neck to the floor. More imagine it as someone with their hands behind your skull, just gently pulling your head away from your neck. And then let's cross the left ankle over the right knee and bring your left thigh in, or your right thigh in, whichever one you have. I think I did the wrong thing. And then flex your feet, evert your feet. And because this is about the hips, keep your back pockets heavy on the floor. Roll your tailbone away and play with moving that vertical thigh out to the side a bit. Let it pull the other leg with it, but see if you can keep both back pockets down and just arc that thigh to the side. And we'll take 1 or 2 more breaths here, really nice and easy. The belly should be moving, ribs and chest are really relaxed. Good, and then let's relax the feet, put the right foot down, uncross the left, and then we'll switch. Bringing that other side in, flexing, everting your feet. Good. We'll think about the back of the pelvis because this big glute muscle attaches to the sacrum, all along the sacrum, and then out to the outside line of the thigh, just at the top. So if you take your thigh that's vertical, the thigh in your hands, and shift it to the side a little bit, and let it take the other leg with you, but try to keep both back pockets down. You should get a really nice stretch there. And then the shoulders need to relax and the chest is easy. And we take 1 more breath into the low belly. Good, and then relax your feet, put 1 foot down, uncross. Now go back to the first side, but cross the thighs. So cross your left thigh all the way over your right thigh. Your legs are fully crossed. And then you're gonna bring both legs in. So bring your knees in and you're gonna hold on to your knees or your bottom shin or your top shin or wherever you can get to. And you wanna still try and press both back pockets down and see if you can push your tailbone down. Try not to let the top thigh, that hip, hike up. Keep both sit bones reaching. And that should give you a stretch, again in the glutes, but slightly different place. And then you look down, take 2 more breaths into your low belly. Yeah, that's it, looks really good. Your feet can be relaxed. If you want, you don't have to flex your feet on this one. Good, because it's really the upper thigh bones crossing that gives us that tension. And then release your legs away from you and switch to the other side. So cross the thighs and bring in the knees and bring your legs towards you and figure out on this side where you can most comfortably hold. And then we'll work on flattening out the back of the pelvis, reaching both sit bones pretty far away. Pulling the legs in a little closer without letting the sit bones lift or hike. Yeah, great. Looks really good. Relax your shoulders. Use your biceps to hold on to your legs. 1 more deep belly breath. And then just move your legs away from you. Great. Uncross those legs. Walk your feet to the sides of your mat and just take a nice windshield washer movement here. Easy windshield washer. That's it. Good. And then we're going to roll onto our side and stretch out the psoas. So roll on, and we're going to come into a tall kneeling position. We'll start with the right knee forward and the left knee down, and you can kick your left foot out to the side. Good. Hands around the pelvis if you want, and just start with a simple posterior tilt. Good. And if you haven't, I think you both have. You're going to walk the foot a little bit away. I think you're good, Linda, where you are there. Yeah, that's great. So we're going to think about an opposition, which we normally do. I want you to think about your knee sliding forward, which it's not going to move yet. Just think about it moving forward, and pull your low back back. So the knee pushes forward, but the low back tries to pull back. And if there was a tug of war between these two, the back would win. The low back moving back gets a little bit more priority than the knee pushing forward. Good. Let's take our hands off and reach them in front. External rotation, extended wrist. Now both the heels of the palms and the right knee are trying to push forward, but again, the low back wins. It pulls back more. That's really nice. And then finally, lift your rib cage up and off of your pelvis, pulling it backwards and upwards, softening down the front. And then that's going to be it for this round. Relax your arms down, relax the front knee and the pelvis, and let's switch to the other side. Good. So with the psoas, take it easy, right? I should have said that at the beginning. Right foot out to the side. But listen to your tissues. Hands go to your pelvis if that's helpful. Strong posterior tilt. Keep your posterior tilt in your pelvis and start that little tug of war. The knee trying to push forward, but the low back pulling back. And if anyone's going to win, it's the low back moving backwards more. Taking a few deep breaths here. Keep that low back active and take your arms out. External rotation, extended wrists. So now you get the heels of the two hands and the front knee trying to move forward into the space, but your low back pulls them back and it keeps pulling them back. And finally, the ribs pull back and lift. So it's like you're stretching out of your lumbar spine, out of your thoracic spine, still with a calm breath. Really nice. And the arms are going to float down. We finally release the pelvis slowly. And we switch one more time each side. This time we'll add the fancy stuff. But we're going to try and keep that low back feeling, pulling the low back back the whole time. So set up your legs wide in the front. Left foot kicked a little bit to the side and strong posterior tilt. Good. Imagine the knee trying to move forward. Pull your low back back and let your low back take the priority here. Arms coming out in front. External rotation, extended wrists. Now the 3 points trying to move forward, they try to pull you forward, hands and knee, but the low back and the ribs pull backwards. The ribs lift up. And then we keep that lift and side bend to the right, just a small side bend to start, because you still want that upwards feeling through the crown of the head. And then you can rotate your lumbar spine to the left. So I've side bent to the right and rotated to the left in my low back. So bring your bottom ribs around with you, lift out of your low spine, push your knee and your hands forward, pull your low back back, lift your ribs. One more breath, all the pieces in place, really nice. And then come back to the center. Before we come out, heel toe walk this foot, wiggle it further away, bend the knee more and put your left or right elbow on that knee. Reach your left arm up by your ear, turn it out, extend your wrist, tuck your pelvis under. And now I want you to relate the heel of your left palm to your left hip bone and push them apart. Push your left hip back and behind you. Push your left arm out and forward. Hold for 5. And 4, try to keep your pelvis tucked. Don't let your ribs fall forward. 3, 2, 1. Good work. Bring your arm in. Ease your way back. Heel to walk that foot in. And we'll switch. Nice work. Ooh, exciting lunge at the end there. Okay, kick your right foot out to the side. Walk that left foot to the side. Here we are, strong posterior tilt. So you know all the pieces now. Set up the little tug of war, low back and knee. My low back totally wins and I take my arms out in front. External rotation, extended wrists. Push forward through the hands, pull back through the low ribs and the low back. Lift your ribs up, up and up. And then take that low back and side bend it to the left, away from that stretching hip. Good, keep the side bend and rotate with the bottom ribs, the lumbar spine to the right. Let the lumbar spine twist. Good, keep breathing here, really nice. Hands and knee can press forward. Low back is still pulling back and it's still like there's an extra pair of hands on your ribs, lifting your ribs up. Good, and now bring your torso back to the front. Walk that foot further away, bend the knee more, keep your posterior tilt, put your elbow down, and sweep your right arm up by your ear. You're gonna make a diagonal line from your hand to your back knee. And now pull your right hip behind you. Try and reach this hip, wrap it around. Nice deep breaths. You still want to pull the bottom ribs behind you and lift them off of the pelvis. Reach to that top arm. It'll give you a deeper stretch right into the hip. Very nice. Square your chest off to the floor a little bit. Yeah, great. And then let's slowly come up. That was really nicely done. Bring your foot back in, keep breathing. Let's come down onto the floor and you're gonna sit sideways. We're gonna go into a nice mermaid position here. Okay, your right hand is down and knees are stacked. So you can be on your right hip to get started here. Okay. So the first thing we're gonna do, flex the feet, stack the knees, and just establish that nice position with the legs. And then just scoot your hips forward a little bit. So they're a bit more in line with your knees and your hands. Good. And then press into the floor, get tall. That's it, feel the ribs lift. Now if you feel a stretch along the side body, even down on your elbow, you can do the elbow, that's okay. Good, let's take the top leg and put it in front and I can hold on to it. Tuck your pelvis a little bit. And now push your top knee forward. Keep your pelvis tucked. Push your top knee forward. Great. That's it. And think about pressing away from the floor. We're going to stay here for just another 5. And 4. Push your right hip down and reach your right knee away. 3, 2, 1. And then you soften back. Relax that top leg, and we'll switch to the other side. Really nice. So first thing we do is establish the knees stacked, the feet stacked, hands nice and wide or elbow down. Move your hips forward. Good. Tuck your tailbone under. Bring your top leg up and hold on if that feels good, or you can keep this hand down. You want to keep your pubic bones pulling up to your belly button, press away from the floor, and then imagine a little string on this knee pulling the knee forward. So the top knee moves a little forward. Good. So because we're aiming for kind of the top of the hip area here on the side, you want to sink your left hip into the floor and reach your left knee away as you press away from the floor. So here we go, holding for another 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and then you just relax your pelvis, relax the top leg, and we swing the legs around one more time. Okay, so here we go. Our hips are going to be so juicy and lubricated. Bring your hips forward, line yourself up, knees, hip, and hand. Take your top leg in front right away this time. Take your top arm out in front, external rotation, extended wrist. Good, so first your spine, tuck the tail, posterior tilt. Then the top hand and the top knee, just like the psoas stretch, they're gonna try and push forward, but your low back pulls back. Oh, that's good. Press away from the floor. That's right. Reach the right knee away from your right hip. Let it pull the hip down with it. That's it. As your right knee stretches away, the hip gets pulled into the floor. We're going to breathe. Good. We're almost there. One more breath. Knee and hand forward, low back, back. And then let the arms soften. Relax the low back. Ease your way out of that twisty position. And great work. One more time on the other side. Oh, okay. Oh my gosh, I find that one intense. Take your hips forward. Okay, take the top leg in front. Take the top arm up. External rotation, extended wrist. Okay, so posteriorly tilt your pelvis. Create a tug of war between your hand, your knee going forward, your low back pulling back, your low back kind of wins. Push away from the floor, lengthen the neck. Reach your left knee away from you so that your left hip gets pulled into the floor. And in opposition, you lift the left ribs away from the floor. That's it. You're both looking excellent. Stay with me here. Knee and hand forward, low back, back, longer neck. One more deep breath. And then you're going to soften that arm, relax out of that position. Slowly now, we're going to roll onto our stomach. So make your way all the way down onto the mat and lie down on your front. Okay. So let's put our hands by the sides of our face. Elbows and forearms are down. Just hover your nose, or you can rest your nose on the floor, whatever feels good. We're going to elongate the spine. So I'm going to start reaching my tailbone towards my feet, pushing the crown of my head forward along the floor. And then I'm going to slide my right arm up along my ear. So the right arm is reaching overhead, right past the ear. Externally rotate that arm and extend the wrist. So your right arm is reaching with the pinky side of the hand sliding away. Now take your left arm and reach it out to the side. So you're making a right angle with your arms. And that left arm can just reach with the palm down. That's fine. Press the front of your pelvis into the floor. Keep the front of the pelvis nice and flat. Keep the spine long and bend your right knee so your right foot faces the ceiling. Flex your right foot. Push your right palm and your right knee apart. Feel that stretch or a lengthening along the right side of the body. And then let your right foot come across the midline. Keep the knee stretching away as you bring that thigh into external rotation. So the foot is flexed across the midline, the knee reaches away. Keep both hips down on the floor. Hold for 5 and 4. Open that right hip even more and press it down for 3, 2, 1. Bring your foot up to the ceiling and now open it out to the side. Let your foot arc open to the side so you feel that thigh in internal rotation. Keep both hips down, press the front of the pelvis down, lengthen between your right arm and your right thigh, pushing them apart. Nice deep breaths here for 5 and 4. Try to keep the length through the spine. 3 and 2 and 1. And then bring the leg back up to the ceiling. Relax your arms down. Reach back to that right foot and just gently stretch the right calf or the right quad. And you can rest your hand on your head on your left hand if you want. We'll still keep the pelvis pressing gently into the floor. Good. Imagine someone has their hands on the front of your left thigh. They're just pulling it away from your hip really gently. That's it. One more deep breath in and out. Good. And then let's slowly release that foot. And we're going to do everything on the other side. For a second, just wiggle your hips side to side. Notice if there's any difference from the front of the right hip to the front of the left hip. Okay, and now let's take the spine into length first. So let's stretch the crown of the head and the tail apart. Feel the front of the pelvis pressing into the floor. Slide your left arm along the mat by your ear, so your arm is right by your ear, and externally rotate your arm and extend your wrist. And take your right arm out to the side in a T. Yeah, exactly. And then we're going to keep the spine long, keep the front of the pelvis flat, bend your left knee so your foot comes to the ceiling and flex that foot. And keeping the front of that hip really open, stretching long through the left side of the body. Bring the foot across the midline. So as you stretch the leg long and open the hip, you're also going into external rotation. Try to keep both hips planted. Yes, exactly. Don't lose the length between your left knee and your left arm. You keep stretching that whole side of the body. And you just make sure your pelvis is centered, pubic bones into the floor. One more breath there in the external rotation. And then bring your leg up to the ceiling. Keep the length and go into internal rotation. Slowly bring the leg to the side, opening it to the side, but reaching the knee away from the arm. Keeping the left side of the body stretching as though someone was pulling you apart. Notice that you still have weight on the right hip bone into the floor. Good. And we'll take a few deep breaths here. Trying to keep length in that left side even as you internally rotate a little more. Even as you press the front of the pelvis down. Keep that left hip open into the mat. And then slowly bring the leg back to center. Bring your arms in, keep your spine, and just reach back to that left foot. And give yourself a nice quadricep stretch. You can rest your head on your right hand or turn your head and rest it on the floor, whatever you prefer. Good. Just another 20 seconds or so. The front of the pelvis presses. We try to slide the front of the thigh away from its hip. Feel length all the way from left armpit to left knee. Good. One more slow breath in and out. Good. Relax your foot slowly down. Exactly. Good. Wiggle your hips side to side. Really nice. Now we're just going to press up. And you're going to sit, if you can, on your heels. Can you sit on your heels? You can. Good. Can you also take your hands behind you? You can be up on your fingertips or you could be flat down on your palms. Good. Now start a slow posterior tilt. Don't lift your hips yet. Just start to tuck your tail under. Try to keep your hips down, in fact. Reach your knees away from your hips. So your knees are stretching forward and long, and the front of your hips are opening. Good. Your pelvis might naturally start to lift off of your heels, and let's just add the neck. So bring your head back in line with the rest of your spine. Imagine someone gently pulling the base of your skull away from your neck. Your neck pulls away from your thoracic spine. Your knees reach down and into the mat. And we're going to hold for 2 more breaths here. Open the front of the thighs right from the top of the knee to the hip. All the way up into the armpits maybe. And then we're going to slowly put the pelvis back down. Release your posterior tilt. Walk your hands back in And come to a seated position on your bum. We'll just face the front. Good. Really nice work. Let's just sit comfortably for a second here. You know what? Let's do diamond. Let's work from the bottom up. Let's work in the lumbar spine. I want to give you a chance to lie down. So we'll do a little bit of lumbar spine and then we'll do the neck. So wiggle on your sit bones. Good. Set your heels so that they're about in line with your sit bones. All right. And then let's flex the feet. Pull your toes up towards your shins and evert your feet. So the feet, ankles, shins are really active. And then we add that element of the knees pressing down. Good. Lift up out of your lumbar spine. Maybe you already feel a stretch in the low back, and that's good. Crown of the head pushes up, tail down. Close your eyes for a moment and just try to line up every part of your spine. So bring every vertebra into line with the one above and below. You'll feel everything slowly slot into place and you get taller. Arms come out in front. You can open your eyes and just look down a little bit. External rotation, extended wrists. Let your shoulders stay soft away from your ears and let your shoulder blades drop down and down and down and then wide around the sides of the rib cage. Good. Pull your fingernails down to the floor. Pull your toenails back to your shins. Press the crown of your head up more. Bring your bottom ribs behind you and lift up along the back of the body. Keep reaching the arms, but soften down the front of the body. So lots of length up along the back, lots of release down the front. That looks really nice. See if you can target your low back by imagining your arms are connected to L4. Lifting L4 up and up. And then everything else, L5 down through the tailbone, sit bones, and knees, pulls into the ground. And we just have 2 more breaths here, in and out. Great work. Let your arms soften down to your knees maybe. Good. Relax your feet and your legs. Stretch your legs out. Good. That looks very nice. And you can do a little flip-flop, letting that all go. Wonderful. And then we're going to lie down on our back. So we're going to get into our neck spine. Just a couple of things here. So you can ease your way down. Oh, and let's just enjoy that for a second because that sure feels good after all of those stretches. Check that your collarbones can just fall wide and the back of your head is relaxing into the floor. Oh, good. Let's find our posterior tilts. Look down over your cheekbones and just relax your shoulder blades into the mat for now. Feel them really nice and heavy. Reach your arms a little bit away from you so your shoulders are depressing away from your ears. And then start to bring your arms up about 45 degrees in front of you. So they're just in front at 45 degrees off the floor. Good, exactly. External rotation, extended wrists. Good, soften your chest. Turn your arms out more and start to push them away. And feel how as your arms push, they pull the shoulder blades a little bit off the floor. But the upper back stays down and the back of the neck stays really long. And you can imagine that a gentle pair of hands is pulling your head away from your neck as your arms pull your shoulder blades away from the floor. And you breathe into your low belly, just aware that your spine is still really nice and lengthened. Yeah, that looks so nice. Letting the front of the body soften more and more, especially those ribs and the sternum sinking. Let's take 2 more breaths, getting the back of the neck to stretch as the arms reach. 1 more breath. And then bring your arms slowly down. Release your pelvis, your spine, and your eyes. If you feel the urge, you can let your head roll a little side to side, or you can just stay and rest, whatever feels right. Good. think about the backs of the legs and the feet here. Press your feet into the floor. Find a posterior tilt, and then keep pressing your feet to hover your hips off the floor. Let your feet take the weight as your hips hover. And then come up a little higher so that your lower ribs are off the floor, and keep your posterior tilt so the front of your hips are open. Good. Take your arms up to the ceiling, externally rotate them, extend your wrists, and bring your arms all the way back by your ears. Now, keeping the shoulders soft, reach your arms from your mid-back. Feel how as you stretch your arms overhead, it pulls on the tissues along the mat. And then keep that tension and start to bring your spine back down to the floor. Again, the back of the head is pulling gently away from the upper neck, the lower neck, the thoracic spine. And once your low back is down, find your spine stretching even more. Feel your arms reaching from that mid-back spot. Let your eyes and jaw and throat really soften here. And we'll just try and open up behind the collarbones, just for about another 15 seconds or so. Let your head slide so your neck gets straighter. Good. Let your upper ribs and chest sink down as your arms reach. That's it. One more slow inhale. Reaching, slow exhale to reach and lengthen more. Keep your spine in your eyes and let your arms arc up to the ceiling and down to your sides. Relax your spine and your eyes. Ah, good. Roll onto your side and come on up to a seated position. Good. T6, because why would you ever not do T6? So sit with your legs crossed. Good, so we have this nice feeling of the ribs dropping into the floor, and we also, in the psoas and the other stretches, have the ribs pulling behind us. So let's feel that already, like you have not a tug of war so much anymore, but just the ribs are moving back, the low back is pulling back, and then everything on top stacks. So start with your low back and your low ribs, and then let everything else come on top. Good. Let's take our hands right over our head right away. Fingertips together, palms apart, elbows wide. Just slide your head forward and back without your ribs moving, just the head and neck forward and back. Easy breaths. And then keep the head gently back, eyes down, tail dropped, crown of the head reaching up. And let's slowly straighten the elbows bit by bit, aware that your head and your ribs aren't going to pull forward as your elbows straighten. Aware that as your elbows straighten and your arms start to reach, there's some nice tension right between the shoulder blades, just above the bra line there. Good, and you keep going with your arms, keep straightening them until you find that that tension is enough. You're like, okay, that's good. I'll stop here and I'll breathe. And I'll see how it goes. Can I settle into this opening in the back? Are my bottom ribs and the back of my skull lined up on top of my pelvis? That looks good. If your arms are forward in your peripheral vision, move them back a little bit, just a touch out of your peripheral vision. Good. Really nice. One more deep breath. Maybe you can straighten your elbows more. Deepen that stretch between the shoulder blades. That's it. And now keep that spine. It looks so good. Let your hands come apart and let your hands float down to catch your knees. And then relax your rib cage, your upper back and your shoulders and your neck. Good. And now, because that psoas attaches to the lumbar spine, we're going to do one more lumbar ELDOA. So let's do L3. So someone once told me, like, you know, you should walk as though your legs are attached at your belly button. And I was like, oh, that's interesting. It's an interesting concept, and it also changes the way you walk. Just as knowing where your real hip sockets are changes the way you walk, right? If you walk as though your hips are at your hip bones versus walking as though your hip sockets are in and more deep, you walk very differently. Anyways, I realized that the reason she said that is because your psoas attaches all the way along your lumbar spine, and your psoas is the muscle that kind of starts your legs, connects your torso to your legs. So if you walk as though your legs start from your belly button, well, they kind of really do. So I think that's kind of cool. So belly button, belly button, belly button, L3, that's what we're working on. So flex your feet, evert your feet, make sure I'm not crooked here, and pull your toes back. Press your knees down and see if from the belly button and up, you can line the spine up really tall, just as straight as it'll go. And then from the L4, just below the belly button down, you also straighten and flatten that out into the floor. And then our arms are going to sweep out to the sides. We'll externally rotate our arms and extend our wrists. And just kind of enjoy all this expansive feeling through your body. You should feel quite large. And then allow your arms to come up. Keep that expansion, keep that space. As your arms come up into a V, pull your fingernails down. Connect your arms all the way down to your belly button. So we'll say the legs and the arms start at the belly button. And as your arms press away in that V, they pull on all the tissues up and out on a diagonal from L3 out. The crown of the head helps you lift out of the lumbar spine. The knees and the sit bones help you reach down from L4. So we really create a ton of space right behind the belly button. And then we just have to breathe. Maintain all that space. It looks really good. Nice work with the neck and the sternums. They look really nice. Yeah, great. Let's take 2 more breaths here. Adding a little more rotation in the arms, reaching, anchoring down, crown of the head. And then let's let the arms slowly come down. Release your feet. Relax your legs and your shoulders. Good. We'll do a little flip flop in and out. Yeah, good. And then of course, we're going to do the hip ELDOAs. So come on up to a tall kneeling position if you need some cushioning. We're going to do both hip ELDOAs for both. Yeah, you know what? Yeah, let's do both hip ELDOAs. Next week, we'll do the SI joint stuff at the wall. Okay, so we're going to start with the left knee down and right foot in front of the hip. This one is so interesting, this hip ELDOA, for the back of the hip socket. So if you can even picture that, it's a very mysterious place for me. But if you can even think about the back of your hip socket. And we're going to do one more tug of war. So put your hands on your thigh and turn your thigh bone in with your muscles and with your hands. Thigh bone turned in. And now keep your hands there and press your knee out. Knee presses gently out. Okay, that's not the tug of war yet, but keep that. Think about the tug of war being your hips and your sacrum pulling behind you and your knee reaching forward. So don't stop breathing once you do that. Hips and sacrum pulling back, knee pushing forward. Good, and now we're going to try and keep that feeling. Let's take the right arm in front of the shoulder and take the left arm up by the ear. Turn your arms out, push your palms away, and see if you can keep that feeling of knee forward, hip pulling back. Trying to stay really lined up through the spine. That's it, good. So Elaine, I think maybe translate your ribs to the right, just a tiny bit. Translate your ribs a little to the right. Good, push the arms away, hip back, knee forward. Thigh rolls in, knee presses out. Good. Pull that sit bone down away from the crown of your head. And let's hold one more breath. Exhale all the air out. Keep all the lines of tension. Keep the tug of war. And then let your arms float down. Good. Relax your pelvis for a second and heel to walk that foot out to the side. We're gonna stay here, hands on your hips. Let your right knee fall forward. Square off those two hip bones, especially that right hip stays forward as you slowly open the knee to the side. And the hip stays forward, the knee pulls back. Let's level off the two sit bones and posteriorly tilt the pelvis. And that should get you already a bit of a stretch there. So you're just gonna enjoy that. Stretch for a second, yeah. So sit bones level, posterior tilt, knee back, hip forward. Let's take the left arm back up by the ear so you create a nice straight line on the left side of the body. Find that length through your spine, keep it. Don't stop breathing as you take your right arm out in front of your shoulder. Good, now both arms are pressing so the shoulder blades are active. The spine is actively stretching. We're gonna think right knee back, right hip forward, sit bone down. Good, and now see if you can keep this for a couple of breaths. Keep that knee back and hip forward opposition. Keep the sit bone down, crown up opposition. Reach your arms. For the last two breaths, think about stretching wide across the front of the pelvis so that left hip presses open and the right knee pushes away. So we're going across the pelvis, opening that way. One more breath. And then the arm comes down. Good, we release the side leg. And then we finally get to come off of that left knee and we switch it out. Okay, so here we go. Tug of war. Yeah, tug of war first. Back of the hip socket, mysterious back of the hip socket. Try to settle your right sit bone down so it's somewhat level with the left. Hands, if that helped you, turning the right thigh in with the leg muscles and with the hands. Keep the thigh turning in and push the knee out. So it's pretty subtle movements here because you want basically internal rotation of the thigh, external rotation of the shin. That's why the knee moves out. And then we keep the tail and sit bones down, and let's take the right arm up by the ear. Good. Take the left arm out in front of the shoulder. Let's begin our tug of war. The knee and the hand want to push forward into space, but the hip and the low back pull them back. Knee and hand trying to push forward, hip and low back, sacrum pulling back. Keep the thigh, if you can, turned in, knee out, tail down, sit bone down, long spine. Let's keep breathing here. Let that knee get pulled away from the back of the hip. Keep dropping the sit bone more and more as you think about the thigh bone turning in and the knee out. Good, that's it. Linda, just side bend to the right through your upper thoracic a little bit. Lift the ribs. Yes, there. Let's hold for 3, 2, and 1. And then let your arms come down. Relax your pelvis, and we go heel to walk that foot around, 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 around. Good, heel in line with knee, fingers on hip bones, and drop the knee forward. Good. Keep an eye on that left hip bone as you slowly open that left knee, not all the way because it doesn't want to pull the hip bone with it. Keep the hip forward. And then level off the sit bones. Drop that left sit bone. And then posteriorly tilt your pelvis. Good, keep that. Take the right arm up by the ear. Take the left arm out in front of the shoulder. Good, eyes down, arms stretching, shoulder blades away from the spine. Left knee presses back, left hip presses forward. The left sit bone drops away from your shoulder into the floor. And keep breathing here. Let those arms help you suspend the upper body, fix it in place while you work on slowly opening that left hip. Knee back, hip forward, sit bone down. And let's start to stretch transversely wide across the hip as though you could push the right hip to the right and the left knee pulls to the left, along with all the other tensions, all these guy wires of opening length. One more breath. It's looking really good. Yep, nice work with the ribs, lifting off the pelvis. Good. And then allow the top arm and the front arm to soften. Let the front knee relax. Breathe as you go to the wall to do L5S1. So our break is our field trip to the wall. That's the break that we get after all of that. Good. Okay. So that back of the hip socket ELDOA isn't my favorite, but I think I'm liking it more and more over the years. It's starting to sort of make a little bit more sense. Okie dokie, here we go. Let's get our sit bones right up against the wall. And let's start with the legs relaxed. So legs are relaxed, your knees can be straight or bent. And you're gonna imagine that you're just gently letting your spine relax into the floor. I think I told you my new favorite carpet image. You're lying on two carpets and one is getting pulled out from underneath your head and shoulders, pulling them away from the wall. And the other carpet is getting pulled out from under your pelvis, so your sacrum slides into the wall. And you still can breathe into your belly. You can still relax your abdominal wall and your chest. And then let's take the arms up to the ceiling. Keep that feeling of length and opening through your spine. Externally rotate your arms, extend your wrists. And then let's straighten the legs and flex the feet. Turn the thighs in, invert your feet, pull your toes down and push your heels up. And then go ahead and take your arms slowly back by your ears. Nice and easy, nice and slow. Yes, exactly, that's it. Take a couple of breaths here. Let your arms and legs continue reaching kind of on autopilot and see if you can find a global lengthening through your spine. Really nice, that's it. Good, and then add a little bit more length up through the heels. Your arms are gonna pull on your side body as they reach. Let's just do 2 more breaths here, looks really good. Good, and then you can let your arms arc up to the ceiling. Relax down by your sides. Relax your legs and your feet. Good, let your spine relax. Nice work. Let all that tension drain away and you're all done. Definitely rehydrate today.